Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back, and let's chat about what is happening in the stars above for not only today, but also for the weekend. And as I told you at the beginning of the week, this is really a quiet week, and there isn't going to be any big hurrahs or anything big going on this weekend, hopefully, but it seems like to me, and maybe also to you all, that things are happening even without having these major sorts of transits that are occurring. It's almost like the dust is settling, that things are moving, but sort of unseen, kind of in the behind the scenes, if you will, or in the unconsciousness or something like that. It just feels to me like there should be all kinds of signatures of things happening, but what's really happening is more on the inner planes, as we are maybe shifting in response to all of the major transits that had happened and the ones that have yet to happen. The big ones, for example, Jupiter and Saturn coming together in the new moon lunar eclipse coming up this next week. And so there are in a week from this Monday. So lots of different things, I think, that are happening. We're in the space in between. And so we may be feeling a little bit fatigued and exhausted or unclear or unsure of ourselves. And I can tell you that I felt every one of those emotions, every one of those feelings over the last couple of days. And all of my muscles in my back and my neck are all reacting to that. It's amazing to see what the body is doing when you're also struggling with something on the internal planes. So let's talk about what's going on this weekend. Like I said, there isn't a ton, but enough that I needed to come on air here and talk to you all about it. Let me just say a quick good morning, make sure I'm in the right place today. It looks like I'm in the right place today. There's always that. Good morning, Tom and J-Lo and Elisa and Mimi and Kathleen Mallory and Ursula, good morning. And Amanda J, good morning to you as well. And I'm sure there are others checking in here. Kathleen, my back has me in the corner. Partly my back started to hurt last weekend when I was moving my daughter back into her house. And I don't know, I just felt like Superwoman, like I could lift things up, and I actually did. But for the next couple of days, my muscles were a little bit screamy at me. So I should remember not to, run the marathon if I've only ever run a mile kind of thing. So there's that. But then my neck started in. And so anyway, but it's better today. So everything's getting better. I just feel like there's just a lot of things that we've been grappling with in the outer world that are now having to find their integration point within us. And that is definitely been my experience here, at least for the past couple of weeks, especially this week though. Which brings me to a new point. So as much as I love being here every morning with all of you, it isn't something that is sustainable for me at this point in time. I have a lot of other things to finish up, and I'm finding that I'm not getting to them. So for today, I'm here, and then next week, I'm going to be on air on Monday, and then I will be on air on Friday. Friday, because Pia and Colin are going to be joining us Mondays and Fridays, so that Monday I can lead you through what's going on for the week, and then Friday so I can give you the heads up for the weekend. And I believe I will keep that schedule through the end of the year, and then we'll see what happens when we get into January. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. I will still keep in contact with you via Facebook or via the posts or graphics that I might be able to get out there. But there's just so many things that are kind of claws in me right now that I have to complete. And I'm feeling very stretched to be able to do all of that, at least with any kind of quality. So today and then next Monday, which will be the 7th, and then on the 11th, and then anything that might come up in the midweek, I will let you know via writing or through posts on Facebook or Twitter, one of those things, right? One of those social medias. Okay, so that announcement's out of the way. The next announcement is that yesterday I did post up the beginning of the astrology for 2021. So you can now purchase your ticket. If you are in the membership, please do not purchase your ticket. It's part of the membership. So I don't want to have to try to refund people's money at the same time that I'm trying to do all these other things. So if you are in the membership right now, do not purchase a ticket. Do not follow that link. I posted the link up for all of you in the private Facebook group yesterday. If you are someone who would like to purchase a ticket, you can go to my website. It's the very first thing that pops up on the website, www.living-astrology.com. Don't forget the hyphen, or you'll be on somebody else's website. You can purchase your ticket there, or you can choose to join the membership. And if you choose to join the membership, not only do you get the Astrology for 2021 webinar, but we do monthly webinars. And starting in January, we'll go back to our human design courses that we're teaching weekly. And as well, we do a monthly forum where you can bring your chart with all of your questions, or at least one question per person, depending on how many people are in forum that day. And so there's a lot of benefit for only $13 a month, or you can buy a 1-year membership for $144. That way you gain entrance or to the recording of the broadcast for Astrology of 2021, or you could purchase your ticket for $25. Either way. For the next question that I've been already encountering, yes, it is going to be recorded. And so no, if you cannot attend it live, you won't miss out. You will still receive the recorded broadcast, and as well the slides. And I usually break it down in slides and audio and video, so you can have access to all three. Okay, any other announcements? You'll notice Asa hasn't been with us the last couple of days. She is training for a job that she'll be doing at home. And so she hasn't been able to be with us. She just texted me this morning and said that today's her last day of training, and she'll be back with us as we go into next week, at least on Mondays and on Fridays. Okay. Anything else that I need to say about anything like that? Don't forget, Friday next week, Pia and Colin will be with us. And that's your opportunity to ask more questions about the Pleiadian-Earth calendar or the astrology and how that works, especially now that each of you know your own signs. You might have questions about how that plays out in the grander scheme of things. So, all right, today, Friday, moon is in Leo. It moved into Leo very early this morning. And that means the first transit of the day is already done and over with. Hallelujah. Because as the moon was finishing her transit through Cancer, she came into an opposition with the planet Saturn. And likely that could have brought us, if it was daylight and we were all busy, into a more serious sort of mood, and maybe even pulled our emotional heartstrings in different directions. But that happened before the moon moved into Leo, and now we are almost done with that transit. It's winding down. And what's winding up then is a trine by the moon to Mercury, and Mercury is in Sagittarius now, remember? So there's fire energy, there's passion energy. The moon in Leo is also in fire. So a trine is giving us the ease and flow of energies between the two planets. That makes today a very conversational sort of day where we want to share ideas, and we can sort of tap in and see where other people are coming from, and to feel what other people are feeling, and to sense what other people are sensing, and to sort of be able to have light bulbs that go on a little bit as you hear what other people are talking about. So being open to new ideas, letting your beliefs and your old patterns sort of sit on the side until you can integrate something new that might be coming in for you. Now, on the heels of that is a square from the moon to Uranus and Taurus. And Taurus and Leo both are fixed signs. Fixed signs have a tendency to be stubborn, to get caught up, to get kind of like their hooves dug in or their paws dug into the ground, and they stay the course. I mean, that gives them, of course, loyalty and determination and the ability to stay the course even in the midst of storms. But it can also bring on that stubbornness and that refusal to yield. And so we have to be careful today with that energy, because that can also be Uranian rebellion, contrariness, right? Where I'm just going to take the other side just because I want to be contrary. And also ego clashes. Great. I'm going to have a 2-year-old with me this evening and into tomorrow. So I'm ready. I'm ready, Wyatt, for your little 2-year-old ego clashes with your 60-year-old grandmother. We're going to have some fun, but I can guarantee you that, I'll be witnessing some of those stubborn rebellion ego clashes with that 2-year-old. So Leo, let's talk about what Leo rules as far as the moon is concerned. It is all about love and romance, self-expression, and our creative or artistic sense, and how that shows up in the world isn't really driven by what a public wants or what other people want from you, but more of what's coming up from within us and how do we want to share of our creativity. Leo is a sign where there's a lot of generosity, benevolence, magnanimity, giving and receiving. And that is, of course, needing to be an even exchange. So giving and receiving love in equal measure, giving and receiving of caring in an equal measure. It is a sign of pleasure and celebration, of sort of the party sign of the zodiac, where it rules the 5th house, and the 5th house is the house where we find celebrations, where we find partying, and where we find getting together or vacationing, that kind of thing. And it is also exactly where things might be a little squelched for all of us at this point in time. And so we may feel that pressure, that I want to get away. At Christmas, we're always gone over here. And now this year, Christmas is different. We can't do that. Or those kinds of feelings that build frustration. And then that frustration can kind of lead us into doing things that we know we shouldn't be doing, right? Rash decisions to try to relieve that stress and that pressure, to try to get back to what it is that makes us feel good. So we're kind of in that space this year of having to merge through those, walking down the middle of what I really want to do and what's really prudent for me to do. And that can sometimes bring up a collision of values, feelings of frustration, etc. So we're all in this one together. It's not like it's only you that has to experience that. It's literally everybody around us that is experiencing that. Do I do this? Do I hold my holiday parties or do I not? Do I wait till next year to take that vacation or do I not? Can I even travel? That's another one, right? Some states have it very clear that you can't travel there without being quarantined for 14 days or 10 days, whatever the new thing is. So we're merging through all of these kinds of energies that seem to tug us in different directions. And self-confidence is another energy that comes up with the moon in Leo. Self-confidence, or is it lack of confidence, right? We take actions on either end of that spectrum. Determination and leadership, also Leo qualities. And as every sign has a negative, the negative expression of Leo energy can be arrogance, pride, narcissism, withholding love or withholding gifts or withholding generosity. In the body, here's the funny part, it rules the spine, the back, the heart, inflammation in the body, and exhaustion. And I can tell you there's a couple of those things that definitely have been up even before the moon was into Leo. So now we have the possibility that more of us are going to be experiencing over the weekend. So I guess the best advice would be to not overdo, right? Don't go too far, too fast. Do what you know you can do and let the heavy work go for now. And or remember that a part of the issue with the heart in human design especially is when we get into a position of pushing the river, where we're pushing to get things done. We're using, in this case, it would be that Leo ability, determination and stubbornness and pushing energy, and that might have a more negative effect on the heart. So the heart center in human design can have its own kind of anxiety. It can have its own kind of body issue, and that happens to be heart problems, right? Whether it's palpitations or uneven heartbeats or actual heart attacks or strokes, things like that can be brought on when we have taken on too much over too long and kept pushing without really stopping and resting. So there we have that, the Leo ideals for Friday and Saturday. And what we have on Sunday is a void moon that will switch the energy into Virgo. So we'll talk more about that when we get into those 2 days. Now, also today in our Pleiadian calendar, we are up to 10 moving energy. Moving energy in the Mayan calendar was Chiron, which was the representation of the snake. And of course, there is the energy of movement here. The 10 energy is about manifestation, manifesting movement, right? Now, the universal energy of the day is the 10. The 10 energy of manifestation is all about what is your mind focused on? Because whatever your mind is focused on is very powerfully and very quickly coming into focus, coming into reality. So if you're looking out around the world and you don't like what you see, looking out specifically your own life, not the way outer world, your outer life, and you don't like what you see, bring it back in and take a look at what you've been focused on. How have you been focused? Where have you been focused? What are your thoughts on? Because that is very important here on a 10-day like today, because things are happening at lightning speed in terms of intention setting and manifesting what it is that you're focused on. If you're manifesting the good stuff and you're feeling, good, even if there's, this feeling of maybe exhaustion or fatigue running through, if in general that you're focused on what comes next and what's possible and on being joyful, that's what you're creating more of. But if you're focused on that fatigue or on that exhaustion and, oh my God, how am I going to get out of bed this morning? That is what you're going to get more of. So being very careful there. Now, moving energy is transformational, but it is also, it's transformational through contrast. So what do I mean by that? Well, often on a day like moving, what we see are conflicts and confrontations that come up to the surface, whether that's in our interactions with someone else or our interactions with, seeing something going on in the world, or is it inner confrontation and inner conflict that we're experiencing. But there's a purpose to the inner conflict or the outer world conflict that we're engaged in, because this sign is also about discovering what else is possible, what more is there, what comes next. And there's an exploring sort of feel that comes through this energy, exploring our differences, exploring what is going on in different areas of our lives, what, again, more is possible. And the key to being successful on a day like today is staying out of the reactionary energies. So we want to stay with response, which means that we don't just knee jerk to something that someone says or to something that happens in the world or in our own lives even. We just hold that spot for a moment, breathing. Then we can respond by choosing to move into a new direction. So, or if we choose to be reactive, which is still a choice, right? It's still you choosing, then we continue the energy of competition and greed and aggression and division and polarization and some of those more negative symptoms that we've been seeing in the world. Now, today overall has a very good energy feel to it in terms of healing the things that have been going on, especially with our minds and with even the physical, emotional, mental symptoms that we may be experiencing. Mercury, because Mercury is in a trine today with Chiron. Now, Chiron, remember, is our wounded healer. He represents the pathway to healing our lives. And everybody has the wound and everybody has a pathway to heal that wound. But the wound doesn't just disappear and go away. It sort of morphs into our ability to tap in and help other people who are experiencing a similar wound to what we had. So we may then often feel like we're reliving almost the wounds that we have personally. When we have a trine from Chiron with a planet like Mercury, that means we can have healing conversations with ourselves or with others. You know, you could stand in the mirror and have that healing conversation with yourself. But you can also have healing conversations with other people, family members, friends, or other people where you've had maybe a conflict in the past. But the mainstay of this energy is that we're able to sort of have compassion for one another, to relate to one another's pain, and to the challenges, right? The challenges that we're all facing, but perhaps in different ways as we go on here in time. We can be very sensitive in our speech right now and understanding in our approach to people and into interacting with others. So being very open and honest, but with a very sensitive sort of air around it. My worry here is that sometimes when Mercury's running through Sagittarius, as he is right now, we can get into that sort of blunt conversation. And while blunt is not bad, and I don't mean to characterize it as that, it can be hurtful to people's feelings. But today and in through the weekend, this energy will last for a few days. We may have more healing kinds of conversations with people because we are able to relate better. This is also a transit that helps us to bring up or seeking and finding wisdom and being able to find meaning and solutions to maybe long-standing problems or things that in our life needed to find something different to be able to solve it. I feel like this is kind of a rolling up our sleeves kind of energy and sort of digging into what is in our minds and our mindset so that we can heal that energy of the mind. And yesterday in my human design class that I'm taking, we had an interesting conversation about defined centers. And one of the things that somebody brought up, and I can't remember who this was, it might have been Karen, we were talking about the defined head and ajna. So if you have a defined head and ajna, it's colored in yellow for the top center and green for the second center. You might have just the ajna defined, but you never will have just the head defined, right? So if the head is defined, the ajna is defined. And people who have those kinds of configurations in their charts tend to be more close-minded, meaning not that that's a negative thing. That I think that connotes that, but they tend to have certainty. Let's go with that word. They have certainty about their beliefs, and they have certainty about what's happening or how things should be. And so even though the truth is that that's what they are broadcasting, the difficulty is it's harder for them to be able to move and flow with new ideas and inspiration as it pops into the planet. They almost get caught up in the old paradigm and wanting to stay backwards in time instead of moving forward in time. Or if their mindset is all about the future, then they might have problems with keeping what's best from the past. Maybe they want to throw everything over. So when we have a Mercury focus like we do today and through the weekend pretty much, it's really good to look at what are the contents of your mind. What are your beliefs? What are your patterns? What are you stuck on? Where do you refuse to yield? Where might you need to bring some more healing energy, some more open-mindedness into play? And just for a moment, pretend that you don't have certainty. Pretend that you don't know everything. Pretend that you have an open mind. And what would you see? How would that change the way that you look at things? And that is something that's very possible during a weekend with Mercury in a trine to Chiron. All right, I forgot Asa isn't here with me, so I got to go back here and see about questions. How's everybody thinking about what's going on? Do you have anything you want to share? Any questions? J-Lo says the webinars are awesome. Thank you, J-Lo. That's so good to hear because I literally put in hours of work on each one of those webinars, whether it's a monthly one or whether it is one of the human design courses that we are taking or that we're putting together. It's not an easy thing. I wish it was, But I am a perfectionist. That's part of my little problem here. Leslie Zuber, it's so good to see you. And Kathleen Mallory says hearts. And J-Lo, my Uranus is squaring my moon. So you're always kind of on alert, aren't you, here? Ready to rebel, ready to confront, ready to dig in. But that is also the source of a lot of awakening energy for you and a lot of emotional juiciness, I would imagine, in your life. Good morning, Corey. And J-Lo says, wow, I told my 15-year-old to try her lines for her Christmas play in the mirror yesterday. It's always a good thing to do that, right? Then you get to see what your face looks like when you're saying the lines, what have you. Valerie, Jocelyn, good morning to you. By the way, I absolutely am broadcasting to the correct place today. And that is one of the things that has been so irritating to me, is that I haven't even had the time to go in, get the videos from the old channel that I want to keep, bring them into the current channel, and then to let go of that other channel. I have not had time. And that may sound like something easy, but every video on that old channel doesn't just stay with the new one. Oh no, if you want it, you actually have to download it to your computer, then re-upload it to the new channel. And each time that it's going to, a 15 to 30 minute process. And I have probably 150 videos on that channel. So I have to decide if I want to just like let them all go, and that's where I'm kind of going, or just pick and choose a few of them. So I'm sorry that has been an issue. It's when I get late in the morning, when I'm like real close to the broadcast time, and I forget to choose where I want to broadcast to, and it freaking defaults to that old channel, and I don't even know how to change that. Frustration. Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel, good morning. Then let's see, Mimi, Janet, that makes sense regarding your schedule. It does to me too. I've just been hesitant to do that. I mean, I grappled with this now for probably 2 or 3 months about reducing that schedule down, because there are other things that I could do on those mornings, like write, which I have been dying to do and just never seem to find the time to do. And then I get interrupted by having to process the videos and get, things like that done. So it's a big job. And literally, I took the business approach yesterday to it. And what I did was I took the number of hours that I spend with the income that is produced from it. And it turns out there's a huge deficit there. I am spending way more time and energy. And as much as I love sharing all of this stuff with you guys, it means that I'm not spending my time on things that would be more supportive of the business. So, God, I even hate saying that. I wish money was never a part of our conversation ever, and that I could just do whatever I wanted to do just because I wanted to do it, and still be supported. Maybe that will happen, because now I'm putting my focus on that. Ursula says, Astro fam, consider becoming a member. That it would be awesome. Our membership is growing slowly, but I haven't really had time to focus there either. So a lot of good things might come with just another few hours a day that I can focus on some other things. Okay, Tom, there is not a lot of free time. And I that every time I see you say something like that, I just cringe inside. There isn't a lot of extra free time. That is the point of me scaling things back. All right. So now let's talk about Saturday. Saturday, we have the moon in Leo all day until we go into the void. So on the West Coast, we go into the void at 2:29 p.m. and we don't leave that void until 11:47 a.m. on Sunday. So we have a long void of course moon. And if we're going to have a long void of course, let's do it on the weekend, right? Where we can get stuck in playing, having, friends over, or conversations with them on Zoom, however you're playing that. And the actual last aspect before the moon goes into the void is a good one. It's a trine from the moon in Leo to the Mars in Aries. We have work and productivity that's possible, or we have the ability to make headway on things where we've been stuck before. So even though we have that long void of course, where it's more wobbly moon, nothing big happening, if we're going to do it, let's do it on a Saturday where we don't have to feel like we have to get things done, right? We can just engage in the playfulness. Now, the moon is also in a trine on Saturday, and that is a good flow of energy too, between the moon in Leo and the sun in Sagittarius. There may be, the ability to share new wisdom and insights. Social media may be very active over the weekend, more playfully engaged, right? Now, there is a couple little blips on the screen for Saturday, and one of them is a very minor square. It's called a semi-square. It's a 45-degree angle between the sun and Saturn. And this is happening in the morning. So it reminded me of someone who has a bad dream in the middle of the night, and you wake up and you're just you've got that dream hangover, right? It's like a bad dream hangover where you're just like, oh, I don't know, what was that all about? And you get that lower feeling. So the sun in that semi-square to Saturn may be a bit of seriousness early to the day. And then later in the day, Venus and Neptune move into a trine with one another. And that restores those better feelings of compassion and connection, unconditional love that can flow easily. Be careful of that trine in particular, because we have a tendency to over glamorize things, or to project sort of that glamour out onto other people. We idolize others. So make sure you're not projecting onto others. That might be the only negative thing that can happen with Venus in a trine to Neptune. And try to spend the day tapping into this later in the day, tapping into the spiritual side of things, finding spiritual wisdom and contemplation, time for that kind of contemplation of beauty, of love, of compassion, and move into more of that higher spiritual energy, compassion, unconditional love, etc. So we have sort of the negative little blip in the morning, and then the much better blip, longer blip in the afternoon. And then the moon will change from the void on Sunday. So on Sunday, we'll emerge into Virgo energy, and Virgo energy will give us more of the ability to get things done. So Saturday feels a little bit wandering, a little bit moody, perhaps, at least in the beginning. And then later in the day, we just maybe want to spend time doing what we love, right? Maybe it's art, maybe it's conversation, maybe it's study, maybe it's watching TV. No football games on Saturday that I would want to watch, so I'll have to do that on Sunday. Now the energy for Pleiadians on the Pleiadian astrology energy on Saturday, dang it, is 11 transcending. Transcending energy, of course, is where we come to grips with where we are, and we use a bridge, if you will, through transcending to where we could be. And this is in the Mayan calendar represented by Kimi, which often was represented by the death mask. And that transcending energy is like having a rebirth, participating in a rebirth. So 11 transcending is where we are on Saturday. Now, Sunday's energy, when I looked at my Sunday form here, there's nothing there. Nothing at all, except for me personally. No moon transits that are new, nothing of a nature that we have to really, be concerned with on Sunday. So Sunday takes us, though, into that Virgo energy, which brings us into the routines and the ability to do work and to get things done. Anything that's been sitting on the back burner, it's time to actually get it done, and to be able to think about your health and engage in healthy activities. This is that season, right? Where all the cookies and the fudge and oh gosh, all that good stuff comes out. And, making your routines important, and also making your good, healthy choices for your body. It is also a day when the moon begins to move into Virgo, where we come up toward looking at things in our environment that are toxic, things that maybe we need to change in the environment in order to be free of those kinds of toxins. And those toxins aren't necessarily foods or drinks that we are taking in. It can be people in our atmosphere. It could be thoughts, especially thoughts during this particular weekend, and ideas or patterns that you are caught up in. All right. There was something else I was going to say. Oh, Sunday will bring us to 12 energy. So we're closing in on the end of the Pleiadian week, the spiral of consciousness. Sunday takes us into 12 remembering. Remembering energy is a much gentler energy. It is helping us to remember who we truly are, where we've come from, who we as individuals are, but also we as humanity. It brings us the spirit of cooperation, generosity, humanity, community, and with the energy of 12, 12 is understanding. So maybe some new insights helping us to understand our connection and how it is that we are meant to be together here on this little blue planet. That means we'll start Monday as an ascension day, ascension loving, right? 13 loving is on Monday. And next week we'll talk about the entire week on Monday, because I won't see you again until Friday after that. But we're going to go into something a little different on Monday, because Pallas Athena, the goddess, the warrior goddess, is moving into Aquarius. So she's been hanging with Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn, right? Doing the conjunction thing along with them in Capricorn. So she moves in first to Aquarius before Jupiter and before Saturn does. So I thought that was interesting, and I want to take a look and see if we can't break that down on Monday. All right, so I have a little bit of time, so I'm going to draw a card for the collective for the weekend. Two of them, one from Wisdom of the Oracle and the Spirit Animal deck. So let's do that real quickly. And this is for the collective for the weekend. Turtle. Oh, I love turtle. Turtle energy. So we have turtle spirit, slow and steady wins the race. That's great advice for me. 62 is the card number, which is an 8, heart to heart, reflection of one another. And it came out upright. So let's take a look at what that means, shall we? 62, this way. Okay. Turtle spirit arrives to remind you that when you do what you need to do, putting one foot in front of the other and trusting that you will see your intentions manifest in perfect timing, your prosperity and love will grow exponentially. Now is not the time to rush around trying to force things. Move slowly, perhaps even so slowly that it almost feels as if you are not moving at all. This may be a time to crawl before walking, taking your time to align to turtle spirit's place as you contemplate this road you are on, doing what you need to do in this small moment that will soon pass. Turtle spirit reminds you that sometimes the best action is to slow right down. So if it feels that if you are not doing enough, know that simply being aware of what is happening right now may be an important step toward determining whether you need to pivot or simply keep putting one foot in front of the other. True love and true success comes with patience, says Turtle Spirit. Focus on the now, and the next step will be clear. Good advice for everyone. I hear you. Okay, and let's do a Wisdom of the Oracle. Both of these decks, by the way, by Colette Baron-Reid, and wonderful decks of cards to have on hand when you need advice, right? And every one of you is very capable of doing card readings for yourself and for others. You just have to allow. Two cards. We have a story-ish thing coming up here. One is Exchanging Gifts, card 27, very Leo energy, I think. And it was upright, Exchanging Gifts. And then the other one is upside down, and it's called Higher Power. Higher Power, card number 4. And I know it's hard to see. There is actually a face right here in the card. It's just sort of nebulous, sort of Neptune-ish, and it was upside down. So let's see what these cards might mean. 27. Okay, 27, Exchanging Gifts. Funny, because that's the card I had in my mind when we started talking about the moon in Leo and generosity and all that. 27, exchanging gifts. The essential meaning is the law of giving and receiving. Currency, trade-offs, weighing costs, and determining value. The message, you're entering into a productive and enriching time when all manner of opportunities are being offered to you. You have everything you need to seize them, yet in order to honor them, you must put in the time, exchange your experience and skills, and commit heart and soul to what you're choosing to pursue. You can do it. You have what it takes to be successful if you align with the law of giving and receiving. You must engage in a dance of give and take, push and pull, doing and being. If you let fear guide your choices, you could deplete yourself or create an imbalance. This is not a time of just do. Use your currency wisely and be mindful of the value others bring to your life. And higher power, upside down. So that was card number 4. Gonna go way back. And when a card is upside down in one of these decks, it is in protection. So the meaning of the higher power card, the essential meaning, is conscious contact with a higher power, the presence of the divine, seeing source energy in all things, committing to a partnership with spirit. And the protection message says, now is the time to examine what you are giving energy and attention to in the back of your mind. If you're obsessing about being right, about old resentments or failed expectations, about money, or about any other people, places, or things, these will be the source from which you create. But you want spirit to be your source. Take heart, for your higher power will never desert you and is always waiting for you to remember the sacred partnership you share. Turn away from other sources of power that don't serve your highest good. There is no greater source than spirit. You can always surrender your troubles and trust that they will be taken care of. You are in good hands. Woohoo! Luck those 2 cards, exchanging gifts and higher power. Upside down. There we go. All right, guys. Back to the drawing board for me, and I wish you all a happy weekend. I will see you Monday morning, and take care. Bye for now.